Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm trying something different out today. I feel like it's gonna be a different vibe to try something more audio, kind of more like a podcast type thing. But today, I'd like to talk about a film in which I don't hate this film. I don't, but it's whatever. So the title of this video is the BL plot that gave me a headache. And it did. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so the synopsis, I'm not retelling the story like I did with Method. This film was 2 hours long. Okay? 2 hours. I'm good. So essentially it's like an erotic, like, period drama type thing. And there's a king who happens to have has grown a liking to his subsidiary named Honglim. But he's also has a queen who he doesn't, have any feelings for. But yeah, that's basically his part. And it turns out that Honglim doesn't have feelings for him, and he falls in love with the queen. And then there's like a bunch of drama that happens there. That's essentially the plot. The king likes Honglim, the soldier / subsidiary, and he's with the queen, but he doesn't like her. But the queen and Honglim like each other. You see how this is already a mess? And it's right at the bat, I want to say I don't think it's a bad film. It's not the acting. It's not even the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this film was amazing. Gorgeous musical score, honestly. When I first watched it, I was led to believe that Honglim was in love with the king. Now, I partially blame myself for not entirely reading the synopsis, because I usually don't read synopsis for films, even though I know you're just like, maybe you should. I mean, I read a little bit afterwards, but then I was like, okay, interesting. But I was mostly intrigued by the first little bit of it. Again, the first time I watched it, I would probably say it was mostly my fault for not entirely understanding the plot. But even though I didn't understand the plot, I was still kind of like, there were many moments throughout the film where I was just like, okay, so does Honglim, the soldier, does he want to be with the king, right? At the end of the film, I realized obviously not, but there were so many points where Honglim would seem like he's not pushing himself onto the king, but trying to get closer to him. There's a scene where, they're in bed together and, they do stuff. And there's another scene where, he's grooming his hair and, doing all that. And I'm like, is this him doing it as just a subsidiary, as just his helper, or as something more, right? Anyway, so there's a point where the king tells Honglim and the queen that they have to, try to create a child because the king doesn't want to, do that. But he tells them it's because that Honglim has more fair skin than the king. But I'm just like, all right, whatever. So yeah, they have to try to, create a child. So they try several times. The first time, the queen's not really with it. The second time, she's not really with it. Then the third time, she starts to, and the more time that they meet up to try to create this, child, you see that Honglim and the queen are actually starting to like create some type of liking for each other. And Honglim, is talking to the king. The king's like, oh, do you have feelings for, the queen? And he's like, nah, shawty, I don't, which was a lie. There's a point where Honglim ends up coming back to the, the kingdom, like really late, and the king's just like, oh, where the fuck were you? And Honglim is like, oh, I was, out in the library reading some war books, which is a fucking lie. And the king's like, oh, what books were you talking about? What books were those, right? And he's like telling him, the books he was talking about, or the books that he was reading, right? Some time passes, and Honglim, isn't there, and the king like looks over at like his other subsidiaries, and he's just like, where are those war books, right? And as this is happening, the camera cuts and we see Honglim and the queen, and I feel like this scene is like really effective because it goes between them, and the king like searching in the rain as his subsidiaries like holding like an umbrella over his head, and like he's like looks kind of manic. And I really liked how it was going because there's like this loud thunder in the background. The rain is like pouring down, and it's like pitch black outside as they're like walking through all the libraries looking to see if they can find Honglim and the queen. He ends up finding them, right? Actually, before that, this is part of the reason why the king kind of went insane. The king finds out that even though they thought that she wasn't pregnant, she ended up getting pregnant, and that like pissed him off, which confused me because like, didn't you say you wasn't, with the doing that with a woman, but you insisted that your right-hand man do the dirty work for you, but now you're mad because the thing that you wanted to happen ended up happening? I mean, I know why he was mad, but like, it's just really odd how he's like, oh, I want you to, give my queen a baby, but then when the baby actually ends up being a real thing, you're mad about it. Anyway, so the reason why he was mad is because, he basically figured out that Honglim has been lying about not liking the queen, when in reality he did like the queen, loved her, right? Give me a fucking break. So yeah, back to them, looking for Honglim and the queen, right? They find them, doing the do in the library. He gets pissed the fuck off, ties them both up, and he orders his soldiers to cut off his steak thing, to sling a sausage. You know what I'm talking about. How is this nigga alive? How anyway, so anyway, I know I said I wasn't gonna like tell the plot, but like this part is like fucking ridiculous to me. So skip some time forward, that he gets locked up, but then he ends up getting broken out by some of the other soldiers, and they take him to outside of the kingdom, and he's like, oh no, I have to go back to go get the queen. And they're just like, yeah, no, sorry, shawty, you can't do that. So this bitch who's like, dickless, he gets on the horse and like skedaddles back to the kingdom. And I'm just like, how are you comfortably and okay sitting on that horse when am I being too literal about this? But like, if you're basing it off like a dynasty and it's like a historical like drama, wouldn't it make sense to like whatever? Yeah, he goes back to the kingdom, and like when he looks up, he sees like a head, right? Where there's like a bunch of heads like on the walls of the kingdom, and like he sees one of the heads has the sachet that the queen usually wears with like a perfume inside of it. That sends him to a rage. He runs into the kingdom, starts killing everybody. I mean, like literally murdering everybody. he gets to the king, and he's like, oh my gosh, thank God that you're here. I'm glad you're here. Let's just come, let's talk. Honglim's like, nah, Shadi, I'm here to buzz a cap in you. He was like, oh, okay, you think that you can beat me? And then they started like, fighting and shit. Long story short, they ended up killing each other. And right before, the king dies, he asks Honglim, has there ever been a moment in time that you had, any like feelings for me? And Honglim's like, no, never. I never did. And I was like, I don't know about that one. So, he gets murdered, and then right before he is about to die, there was a point where Honglim gets like stabbed like in the chest, like not like near the heart, but like near his rib cage, his the middle of his chest, not near the heart, but like the middle. So he gets stabbed, and like he did like some fucking Batman type shit. He like slides up the knife and like kills the king. I'm like, all right, bro, this is ridiculous. It's getting out of hand now. So some of the other soldiers, run up, and they're like, oh, stop right there, and as he's about to fight them, one of the generals like ends up stabbing Honglim, also, and motherfucker plops on the ground, and then he looks over and he sees the queen is sitting right the fuck there, as they're like holding her back because she wants to go over to Honglim, but they're not letting her. He dies. And yeah, that's essentially what happened there. And then after that, there's like a scene where Honglim and the king are like frolicking through like a field on horses and shit. I'm like, did you like him or not, bro? Like, like what? Anyway, one of the main things that I didn't like was, you're telling me that Honglim fell in love with the queen because he had sex with her. Is that what you're telling me? So much to the point that he's willing to die for her. I don't know about that one. I no. And I'm not saying that Honglim being with the king would have been a better idea, but that's kind of exactly what I'm saying. Like, anyway, in my notes, I wrote that if he truly wanted to be with the queen, right? If that's truly what he wanted, the king said he would spare him if he came back, right? But he went into a fit of rage and killed everybody. Honglim did. Now, this may be a bit of a stretch, okay? But I'm the reviewer here, so you're here for my opinions. I feel like the plot was oddly homophobic. I know you're just like, right, I know. You're telling me the king lost his marbles because Honglim didn't want to be with him. It kind of feeds into the idea that queer people only care about ourselves and not about other people's, wants or needs. Like, the acting was great. It really was. Like I said, the acting was great. The musical score was beautiful. Like, if anything, go listen to like the musical score for the film A Frozen Flower. Have I said the name of the film this entire time? That's how much I'm detached from this movie. I didn't even get a chance to actually say the name of the fucking shit. Anyway, yeah, the characters were just kind of lost on me, where I'm just like, you've seen this person, the queen, as just that. And here's another plot hole that I noticed. Like I said about him suddenly falling in love with her because he knocked her up, but if you knew that you didn't have feelings for the king, why was it like he never like met with the queen, or like, I guess he never really got a chance to like be close to her, but like, you've seen her face, like you know what she looks like, you've talked to her, you've talked about her. Why suddenly when y'all want to do something, then suddenly you got feelings for her? That makes no sense to me at all. It really doesn't. Also, the sex scenes in this drama were kind of annoying. Like there's a point where like it was just like back to back him and the queen. I'm like, I get it, but stop. Also, yes, it's considered a BL, yeah, because the king being gay and him wanting to be with Honglim, yeah, duh. But I don't feel like it's fair to label it as a BL. But even though I put it as that, the title, y'all know what the fuck clickbait is. Anyway, I was going to watch it again, the film, but I opted out of doing that because I'd rather spare my sanity. I've talked to my friends about this film, and I've actually reimagined the entire plot to them this one time, and I asked for their thoughts and feelings about it, and they're like, yeah, this shit was trash. I was like, I know, right? I know. So let me know how you feel about essentially the synopsis that I gave. I gave it an 8.7 out of 10 prior because I don't really like labeling things, giving things less than a 7, but like, if I'm being honest, basing off how I feel now, it's probably gonna go down to like an 8.2. And the only reason why it's above a 7 at that point is because, like I said, the acting, and not even just like the acting, but like the scenery and the historical costumes were beautiful, like gorgeous. But I'm just like, that plot, sis, that this is why we watch things, for the plot. Some people watch things for like the visuals and shit, but like, when I'm watching something, I'm watching it for the characters and the plot. Personally, I don't know about y'all, but that's just me. Anyway, that's just how I feel about the drama of Frozen Flower. I am never talking about this shit again. I really don't want to. I just, my brain power, my noggin power is not with it. It's just not. So anyway, let me know how you feel in the comment section. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it. Like I said, I'm not gonna tell you everything that's happened in the film. If you got 2 hours and 12 minutes to go watch the shit on Viki, then go ahead, but that is all. I will see you in my next review. All right, goodbye.